welcome back to my channel. I am the K-pop hag, and today I'm going to be going through my entire K-pop album collection. This will not be a super in-depth look. I won't be going through the photo books or anything, but I will be showing every album that I own in my collection as of the beginning of 2021. So first off, we will start with my ultimate girl group, the one who got me into K-pop, Girls' Generation. Starting with their Korean discography, we have their debut single, Into the New World, and this is still sealed. I'm actually amazed that I have this. I got this for $6. $6. I'm sorry to the person who sold this to me, but you did not know what you had. But thank you for selling it. Next up, we have their first album, aptly titled Girls' Generation. And the repackage, which is Baby Baby. The first mini album, G. And the second mini album, Genie. Then we have their second Korean album, which is O. And the repackage, which was Run Double Run. Then we have their third mini album, Hoot. And their third Korean full-length album, The Boys, and this is the Korean version. And I also have the international/American release. We then have the repackage, Mr. Taxi. And then we have their fourth full-length Korean album, I Got a Boy, and this is the group version. And then we have the member version, starting with Taeyeon, Jessica, Sunny, Tiffany, Yoon, Yuri, Yoon-g, who is my Girls' Generation bias, Yuna, and last but not least, Soyeon. We then have their fourth mini album, Mr. Mister. And then beginning of OT8, we have their single Party. Their fifth Korean studio album, this is Lionheart. And then the secondary cover, which was You Think. And then we have their final group release, which is also their sixth full-length album and their 10th anniversary, Holiday Night. This is the holiday version. And this is the night version. And that wraps up Girls' Generation's Korean releases, and now we will move on to Japanese. So this is kind of a bonus. This is their third mini album, Hoot, but it was released in Japan with a few extra songs and this nice DVD case. Then we have their first Japanese single, Genie, and G, Mr. Taxi/Run Double Run. And then we have their first Japanese album, Girls' Generation, aka one of the best albums that they have ever released. We then have the repackage, The Boys, their single Paparazzi, and this is the Girls' Generation complete video collection. This came out right after Paparazzi. And they've probably released as many music videos as are on this after they released this. So it's not the complete video collection. Then we have their single Flower Power. And and their second Japanese full-length album, Girls' Generation, Girls in Peace, and this is the limited edition. We have O, the Japanese version. We have the Girls' Generation Best Selection Non-Stop Mix. This is essentially just a 2-hour long remix of all of their Japanese singles up until this point. We have Galaxy Supernova. Loving Girls. And then their third Japanese full-length album, Love and Peace. And this is one of the final releases in Japan. It is the final album of all new songs. We then have Girls' Generation The Best, and this is the complete limited edition. It is absolutely massive, and this is the Blu-ray edition. Then we have the Best Standard Edition, and this is in DVD format. Then we have the Best New Edition, and this did have a couple new songs on it and a new photo shoot. And then we have the Standard Edition of the new version. And then we have the limited edition of the new version, which includes a set of all nine Girls' Generation members, and each member's figure has a different Japanese singles outfit on it. And then their final Japanese release, we have Catch Me If You Can, and yes, this is actually part of the packaging. And then once you open it up and take the CD out, it is just matte black. And if you can see, it says Catch Me If You Can in a slightly darker font. Moving on to concerts, we have their first concert, Girls' Generation Into the New World. And I also have the live album of this release. We then have their first Japanese tour. This is the DVD version. And the Korean leg of the tour. We have the limited version of their second Japanese tour. And the Korean version. We have their third Japanese tour, and this was the last tour as OT9. We have the SM Town I Am movie, and this also includes the SM Town Live World Tour in Madison Square Garden concert. It's a really nice watch. We then have the girls The Best Live at Tokyo Dome, and this was a one-night only event. We then have their fourth Japanese tour, Fantasia, and this is our first OT8 tour as well as our last concert tour with Girls' Generation. And then we have the Korean leg of the tour. And if you thought we were done with Girls' Generation, no, my friend. There are still the subunits and the solos. So first off, we have Girls' Generation TTS, their debut single, Twinkle. And their follow-up album, Holler. Then we have their final release as TTS, which was Dear Santa, and this is the red version and the green version. Now moving on to member solos, we're going to be going in reverse debut order. So first first off, we have Yuna's special album, A Walk to Remember, and this is just a compilation of all of the songs she had released in Korea thus far, with one more song. Then we have Yuri's solo debut, The First Scene. And we have Soyeon's solo debut, Don't Say No. She actually wrote all of the songs on this album aside from the title track, and I believe this is the first time that SM Entertainment allowed one of the girls to use so many of their own self-written songs. Then moving into Jessica, we have With Love J and her second album, Wonderland. And then her final release, My Decade, which she released for her 10th anniversary. We then have Tiffany's debut single, I Just Wanna Dance. And last but certainly not least, we have Taeyeon. We have her debut single, I. Her second single, Why. Her first full-length Korean album, My Voice. And this is the I Got Love version. We have This Christmas. And This Christmas has this really neat lenticular photo on it. I'm not sure if you guys can see it on the camera, but it looks really neat. Then we have Something New. I have her Japanese debut single, Stay, and these were only available for purchase at her debut showcase in Japan. And then we have her second full-length album, Purpose, and this is the original edition, not the repackage. And now, 12 and a half minutes later, we are finally done with Girls' Generation, and let's move on to Luna. So here we have Heejin, Hyunjin, Hustle, who is my Luna bias, Yojin. And while I keep Girls' Generation stored in group releases, unit releases, and solo releases, I keep all of Luna's albums in release order because all of the albums are actually numbered at the top, and that number is by release order. So next we have Luna 1/3, Love and Live. And then we have Vivi. And Vivi's album is actually my only first press solo album. We have Luna 1/3, Love and Evil. Hello, focus. Focus. There you are. So there's Luna 1/3, Love and Evil. I really hope this whole video hasn't been out of focus. And then we have Miss Kim Lip. Jinsol. And Cherry. We have Odd Eye Circle Mix and Match. And the repackage of Max and Match. Then moving on to the YY by Y Girls, we have Eve. Focus, Eve. Chu. Go On. And Miss Olivia Hay. Then we have the final Luna subunit, which is Luna YY by Y, or Youth Youth by Young. And moving on to OT12 releases, we have their debut single, Plus Plus. And the repackage XX, or Multiply Multiply. Here we have Hash, and this is the first comeback that Hustle was on hiatus for, so they're just the 11 girls. And then we have their latest comeback, which was Midnight. And again, Hustle was still on hiatus for this, so it is just the 11 girls. But BBC recently released a teaser a couple days after Christmas, and Hustle, I believe, I may be clowning myself, but I'm pretty sure Hustle was at the end, and most of Twitter seems to agree, so hopefully she will be back with us for their next comeback. That is the end of my Luna collection, and now we will be moving on to my second Ultimate Girl group, which is Dreamcatcher. Starting off with their debut single, Nightmare. And I feel very lucky to have Dreamcatcher's earlier albums, because if you have ever tried to collect Dreamcatcher, you know that their first 4 releases are out of print, and they are extremely difficult to come by, and if you do come by them, they are very expensive. So I'm very happy to have this. This is Nightmare. And their follow-up, Nightmare Fall Asleep in the Mirror. We have Prequel, their first mini album, this is the before version. And the After. Then we have their second mini album, which is Escape the Era. This is the inside version. And the outside version. We then have their third mini album, which is Alone in the City. This is the light version. And the shade. We then have the end of their Korean Nightmare saga. This is Dreamcatcher, the end of Nightmare. This is the stability version. I think that's about as lined up as I can get it, unfortunately. And then we have the instability. We then have their special mini album, Raid of Dream. This is the limited version, and this comeback was actually in collaboration with Vespa and their mobile game for King's Raid. And then here we have the regular version. And I guess I need to stand out of the way so you can see how holographic the front of their albums usually are. I'm so sorry for my dogs. Then moving on to their new series, which is Dystopia, we have their first full-length album, Dystopia, The Tree of Language. And this is the E version. And you'll notice with the Dystopia series, all the albums spell out a word. So The Tree of Language spells out evil. So this is E. V. I. I'm so sorry for my dog. And L. And then if you look on the spines when they're all together, it spells out evil. Then we have Dystopia, Lose Myself. And these 4 albums spell out shed. So this is the limited S version. And I have Yooyeon's cover page. But if you take the cover page out, this is what it looks like. It's equally as beautiful. I just keep her in here so she doesn't get damaged. And then we have H. And again, the tops of these albums are just beautiful. E. And then the pre-order limited version, D. So far in the Dystopia series, the albums spell out evil shed, and the members have told us with this final part of the trilogy of Dystopia, we will have a full phrase, and there will be 4 versions. So we've spent a lot of time in the fandom trying to figure out what this final word will be. Evil shed what? If you think you might know what it is, please let me know down below, because I have no idea. Then moving into their Kino albums, we have one for their 3rd mini album, Alone in the City. Their 4th mini album, The End of Nightmare. Their special album, Rate of Dream. And their 5th mini album, Dystopia, Lose Myself. And then finally, we will look at their Japanese releases. We have their debut single, What? And this is the A version. And the B version. And the C version. I think I have these versions right. If I don't, please let me know in the comments. We then have their follow-up single, Kiri. And I believe this is the B version. And this is the C version. And that this is the A version of Kiri. We then had their first full-length Japanese album, The Beginning of the End. And this is the A version, or the regular version, sorry. And then for the limiteds, we have The End and the beginning versions. And then for their final Japanese single that had a physical release, we have Endless Night, and this is the A version. And the B version, and the C version. And then I have a couple miscellaneous albums. These are groups and artists that I enjoy, but I do not have their full collections. I have yoon-g's Neo Spirit, her Skinship album, and then this is a compilation album I believe was released in Taiwan for her single If You Love Me, and it just includes a lot of her previous title tracks, but this is not the official If You Love Me release. That was just a digital single, and while there is a physical release, I don't have that one. And then we have her final release that had a physical album, The Way To, and this one is actually signed. And then last but not least, I have James Lee's albums where he has branched off solo after leaving Royal Pirates due to an accident on his birthday where he almost lost his hand. I was part of the Makestar or GoFundMe Kickstarter project for both of these albums, so I have signed versions. This is his debut, The Light, and his follow-up EP, Castles. I hope you enjoyed this video. I believe I counted them earlier, and I have 138 K-pop albums or K-pop related albums, including the concerts. I feel really happy that I have been able to afford all of this. I have been a K-pop fan since 2008, and I've been collecting for about 13 years now. I can't wait to see my collection continue to grow. And if you would like a more in-depth look or flip throughs of any of these albums, please feel free to let me know down below, and I would love to make more of these. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time.